And hi, Alex. How are you?
दिव्या जी कैसे हैं आप?
Bus first class. Yeah, nice to see you out here.
Very nice to see you too, man. It's really it's a pleasure. Bollywood Spy is one of my favorite entertainment sites and handles to follow. So I'm super happy to be on with you guys and excited to have a chat with you.
Same here, same here. तो सबसे पहले तो congratulations for Aarya. आपका जो रोल है वो लोगों को
बहुत
काफी
बहुत
पसंद आ
धन्यवाद,
रहा है.
बहुत धन्यवाद. The
तो
response has been
this is
spectacular. The response to Bob specifically has been overwhelming. I think a lot of it because he speaks in Sanskrit. He recites shlokas from the Bhagavad Gita. So I think that people have really connected to it because it's a very different role. So many people haven't seen before. Totally unexpected. And for those of you that have seen it, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's some twists and turns. The whole series kind of ends up with a moment where you're like, whoa, Bob, that was unexpected.
लेकिन अगर बात करेंगे तो हिंदी सिनेमा में देयर वाज दिस टिपिकल एक होता था टॉम अल्टर के रोल्स या बॉब क्रिस्टो के एंड दे यूज्ड टू
हाँ,
ऑलवेज एंड अप
टॉम
प्लेइंग.
मेरा बहुत बहुत पुराना दोस्त था, तो बहुत अच्छा आदमी था, लेकिन हाँ हाँ बताइए.
So that stereotype, typing was always there. That of typical के भाई ये अंग्रेज होगा, he'll be playing the Britisher or this. But ये जो आपका रोल है, and you surprised everyone with that Sanskrit जो आपने जिस तरह से flawless आपने संस्कृत बोला है, भगवत गीता के श्लोक्स बोले, तो ये कितना tough था? How tough was that to get into that mold
बहुत
of
बहुत
entire thing?
मुश्किल था भाई, बहुत बहुत मुश्किल था. लेकिन आप सही बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन there are always going to be these roles. See, India has, and मुझे माफ कीजिए मेरा हिंदी, मेरा accent थोड़ा अजीब है, तो मैं I'll continue in English. But yeah, you can obviously ask me whatever you like in Hindi.
Yeah.
So there were always going to be these roles that look back at India's history. India has such a rich history, and a lot of that history, 400 saal of history, is the Portuguese, the British, the Dutch. It's a lot of colonization that happened. And there's a lot of interesting stories that can be drawn from that. It's almost like the United States has a fascination with the Civil War. It has a fascination with slavery, which was terrible. But films like Gone with the Wind are set in the backdrop of American slavery. So there's so many stories that get pulled from the past, and oftentimes the characters are colonial British. When you look at me, you don't think South Indian, you don't think Maharashtrian, you generally don't think Indian at all, and that's fine. But there are certainly lots of stories that can be told that don't necessarily have the British being negative, because people are people. And whenever you're playing a role as an actor, you need to empathize with them, and you need to always be working from the basic feeling that you're right, that what you're doing is correct. No one thinks they're a bad person. Everyone thinks they're justified. So those roles have that specific challenge built in. And I've done roles like that over the years, from Chittagong with Manoj Bajpayee, Barry John, myself, Nawazuddin. That was an amazing cast. Madrasa Patnam, which was Amy Jackson's first film. That was me, Amy, and Aarya.
Saira Narasimha Reddy.
Exactly, Saira Narasimha Reddy. So many films kind of work from that assumption, but then there's so many that don't. Like if you saw, for example, Mayor Charles, me, Randeep Hooda, Richard Chadha, that was a really interesting film set in the 80s about Charles Soberaj, where my character, my role is a very positive and torn one. Or Jhansi Ki Rani, which is a series I did, which was set in colonial times, but my character was torn between his love of the Indian princess and his duty to the company. So there are always going to be stories set, with the colonial empire in mind, but even then, they're not necessarily the stereotypical stories. And Tom is a great example of that. Tom was a friend of mine years ago. In fact, he was instrumental in helping me learn Hindi, because he sent me to Mussoorie, which is where the Landor language school is located, and I studied. I can read and write Devanagari because of my time there.
And his Urdu was like
super. Oh, he was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I'm overwhelmed with the comparisons, but it's not a comparison. What I'm doing in Sanskrit yes, I've worked on it, I've memorized it, I've worked through it. But Tom could actually write poetry in Sanskrit, in Hindi. He was an exceptional person. So there's no comparison, and I don't claim that there's one. People have been making it, but I kind of shy away from that. But anyway, so yes, this role in Aarya is certainly different because of the basis in Sanskrit, because he is an outsider coming in and reciting Gita shlokas for this Indian family. And this Indian old money Rajasthani family has no understanding of the Gita, no interest in it, but this guy does. And so that makes a very, very interesting dynamic between him and the family. But roles like this, roles like Ruhi Afza, where me, Rajkumar Rao, once again, Janvi Kapoor, and Varun Sharma, that's a horror comedy that's coming out as soon as theaters open. It's a very, very interesting story. You know, Banarsi Jasus, Rani, another film I've done with Tanisha Chatterjee. So, you know, I know that there's a conception that there are a lot and only these types of historical British roles for someone like me. But the fact of the matter is, over 30 films and series, that's been a very, very small percentage of the kind of stuff that I've done.
But how tough was to get the Sanskrit, you know, that accent and pronunciation right? Because even in India, people cannot get it. It's a easy language, but initially it's a quite tough language to do it. So
I
you
think
were like flawless.
So Devanagari लिख सकता हूँ, पढ़ सकता हूँ. So that was very, very helpful because Devanagari tells you exactly the proper sound. So Ya enam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam obatao navijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. So in that, there's thank you. Within that shloka, which is foundational for for Aarya, basically it means that he who believes that the soul kills and he who believes that the soul dies, neither of them can see the truth. The soul neither kills nor is killed, which is kind of foundational for the Bhagavad Gita, foundational for Aarya. And so it's a very important shloka for me, for Bob, for this series. But to know how to properly pronounce it, and I don't pretend that it's perfect, but Devanagari is a script where what you see is what you get. English, oh man, if you see a K, if you see a Q, if you see a C, you honestly don't know how to pronounce it unless you've said the word hundreds of times. So English is exceptionally difficult in that way. But Sanskrit is not easy because there are a lot of sounds that you're simply not used to. Like, for example, in English, you know, we don't really have the khadarnak, you know, we don't have that we don't have that guttural sound. But anyway, so it was a challenge. But obviously, Ram Madhvani's team is always taking on challenges and are well prepared to succeed in those challenges.
So your character, you know, without revealing it for people who have not watched it, your character has a twist and everything. So what can we expect in the season 2 of Aarya?
I don't know. The thing is that so we entered this lockdown with Aarya completely shot. And one funny story is that every time I would arrive for dubbing, because we would do it online, I'd be in a different place. First I was in Lokhandwala, then I was in quarantine in Amsterdam, and then I was here in my house on the coast of the Netherlands, about an hour outside of Amsterdam. So I was always in a different place for the dubbing, but luckily we completed the shooting beforehand. And similarly, I'd had the editing and the shooting done for Still in My Mind, my debut music video, which stars myself and Shama Sikandar, which released about a month and a half ago. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. So that was done. Ruhi Afza was shot and pretty much edited. The dubbing wasn't really necessary because it was shot more sync sound. Golan Dodge, that's me and Dave Adhikari facing off in an epic football-inspired battle in West Bengal. He's huge. Dave Adhikari is a massive star in Bengali cinema. So that has 5 more days of shooting left. So everything, when this hit, the pandemic hit, everything kind of froze in time. So I've got projects to return to shooting. Some like Rani Rani Rani, which I mentioned before, a sci-fi time travel film with me and Tanisha Chatterjee. That's all shot and done and ready to release. But even releases of things have been put on hold, obviously with theaters not open yet. So, you know, with regards to season 2 of Aarya, there's just been no time to discuss it, no time to really think about it. And I don't know, you know, we had a celebration. We had a virtual party the day before release, actually hours before the release party wrapped up on Zoom. And, you know, we were all kind of thinking, you know what, no matter what anyone thinks, this has been a beautiful experience. I don't think anyone went into it thinking, oh, it's going to flop. But at the same time, you don't know how an audience is going to receive things. I didn't know how an audience would accept or not accept a white guy coming in and professing, you know, to love and embrace the Bhagavad Gita and talking about the Bhagavad Gita to Indians. You know, it could have just been, oh God, what is this? Terrible. But frankly, the response, I think, has blown everyone away. And it's a combination of things. I think that it's an incredible cast. It's a wonderful screenplay. It's beautifully shot. The locations are amazing. So it's a lot of things. And it's kind of been, I think, even better received than Ram, Sushmita, Chandrachur, myself expected, to be honest. So I think more than anything, everyone was working till the last minute to get it done, more than thinking about what next. And I think that now, because nobody can really shoot anything, I mean, I'm obviously a member of Sintha. Sintha's just emailed us all saying we can resume shooting. But frankly, I don't know when that's going to happen because I don't do daily soaps and such. So my work is kind of always location dependent. You fly a whole bunch of people in and you shoot straight through 2-3 weeks or so. And so it's a little bit different from shooting that has a locked set, a specific place where they shoot every day, all day. So, you know, I don't even know when we're going to shoot next, let alone when Aarya 2 will start to come together. But I mean, I'm 100% sure there is going to be a season 2. It's just a matter of when.
That's a great thing. Fingers crossed for that. You know, Alex, did you ever, as a child, did you watch any Bollywood film or something? Did you even think that you will end up being in a Bollywood, and that too a famous one, not that just, you know?
No, you know, it's funny. I had this question in an interview yesterday. Were you ever starstruck working with Amitabh Bachchan, working with Manoj Bajpayee, now Sushmita Sen, Chandrachur? And, you know, because I didn't grow up with them in my consciousness, because they weren't film stars exemplary of the industry when I was a kid, I walk onto these sets with overwhelming respect for them as actors, and especially in the case of Sushmita, as personality. She's conducted herself with such grace over her entire career. It's just inspiring. So whereas I come with that respect and I come with that admiration, and there is an aura, you know, there's absolutely an aura around folks like Sushmita or Amitabh Bachchan or Manoj Bajpayee, etc. Because they weren't there in my mind from childhood, I don't have the same starstruckness, which helps a lot because it means I can just you know, jump into the scene and act without having to overcome this terror of acting with some of my childhood icons, because they really weren't. I was introduced to Indian cinema, Indian actors in my late 20s, early 30s, or let's say mid 20s. You know, because even though I was acting with Prabhudeva, I'd never seen a Prabhudeva film before, or I was doing a Santosh Sivan movie, I wasn't really aware of Santosh Sivan's impact on the industry. So, so yeah, I never envisioned being in this industry because it wasn't really on my radar. I think that Indian content over the last few years, because of a handful of very good Indian films, and honestly, the smaller ones, not necessarily the big ones, Lunchbox, for example, one that went the world over and people absolutely loved it. So a handful of Indian films have put Indian cinema on the world stage. I've said this before in interviews. I believe that Aarya will put Indian digital content on the world stage. because of its quality, because it matches up to the other things that are out there. People will actually choose it not because it's Indian, but because it's good. And that's how you know you've succeeded. When, despite the language, people are tuning in to see your content because it's so good. I have folks, getting in touch. VPNs are kind of the way to get around the territories that things are launched
Yeah.
in. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of people use them. So I know a lot of people that are watching it in Europe, in the US, even though it's released in the UK, in the US, and Singapore, as well as India. It's being watched all over the world, and that's awesome. So as the Indian industry becomes global, I feel it's kind of becoming more in tune with what I was doing when I was younger. I was a stage actor for 10 years. I was a model, television, etc. And my first big Hindi films were in 2007, Chinikam, Loins of Punjab, and then I went on and did Nach Baliye, and then Chittagong, Mayor Charles, Joker, etc. So and now it's kind of like I've been working in an industry that now suddenly people that I worked with years ago in the US are saying, oh, wait, wow, oh, you're in this, you're in this, you're in this. And then they kind of go backwards. So it's lovely for Indian content because people are now waking up to how good a lot of it is. So I never thought I'd be in this industry. But then again, I've been in it for some 13 years. So it's been a long time to get used to it.
Yeah, that's good for that. But you mentioned about Chini Kam and Amitabh Bachchan working. That scene was very cute scene. And correct me if I'm wrong, you're also part of Chair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
So
the circle of
I've got,
life completes. You started your work with Amitabh Bachchan, and now your next film is with Mr. Bachchan. So,
yeah. So I don't talk too much about Cherry because there's sometimes you just do a movie because the dates work, and there's some actors that you really wanted to work with, and there's a director that you really want to work with, and you want to establish that relationship. Saira Narishma was a similar situation. I've done
right.
lead roles in films in Tamil, in Malayalam. I worked with Mammootty twice. In Urmi, I
Lucifer,
played a
right?
double role. Yeah. So when it comes to Saira, a lot of people ask me, well, why did you do it? Because my contribution to the film wasn't very significant.
Yeah.
But I had the opportunity to work with a living legend, Charanjeevi, to sit with him, to chat with him. I had the opportunity to be a tiny part of what was an immense film. And sometimes I do that. And I do that sometimes at the frustration of my management, because they're like, why are you doing this? Shere is a similar example. Emran Hashmi, I think, he's an amazing guy. He has his own huge fan following that he doesn't really have competition. People that see an Emran Hashmi film, they may also like Amitabh Bachchan, they may also like Shah Rukh Khan, but he's like their guy, So to share screen space with him, it's just a cameo, it's just a few scenes, but it worked so well between the shooting I was already doing for Ruhi Afza and Rani, and also Aarya. So it was just fun. It was just great to do. So yeah, Cherry, I don't talk a whole lot about, but Cherry is ready for release. I've also got Ruhi Afza, which, as I mentioned, is a horror comedy. I've got Dr. Rakhmabai, directed by Anant Mahadevan, starring Tanisha Chatterjee and myself. There's Rani, another Tanisha Chatterjee film of mine. And what else? See, I'm losing count. I'm losing track. Those are the ones I'm most excited about. And my follow-up music video. After Still on My Mind, I also have 20 Days coming out, which is going to be early July. So 20 Days, Still on My Mind, as well as Aarya, Ruhi Afza, Chere. All of these had all of their principal photography done before the lockdown. Thank goodness. Because if they hadn't, they would all be delayed. I still have long and horribly unkept hair because I've got to go back and shoot for Golandaj right after lockdown, or right after the industry reopens. So I can't really change my look, unfortunately. I've kind of been stuck with this for a while, but there are bigger problems in the world. But yeah, so there are a lot of very interesting projects that are coming out as soon as possible, and I hope some of them get diverted to OTT.
So we got some questions from your fans, and we have how was the experience in working in the OTT web series? You have been part of two big ones, 21 was also there, and Inside Edge also you were there. So they wanted to know that how was that experience of working in the OTT platforms?
It was awesome. I feel as if this is a bit different from Inside Edge. Inside Edge was a trailblazer. Inside Edge was the first. It launched Amazon Prime in India. It was
Correct.
Excel Entertainment and Amazon coming together and making this really never before seen series. Being a part of it was great. I was shooting other things at the same time. It was a sports film. I'm sorry, a sports series, and I'd never really done a sports series before, which was very cool. Golden Dodge, which I've just talked about a moment ago, that's a football-based film, so another sports project, which I
Sports.
love. I love doing sports projects. Aki Sarfarosh, I played Winston Churchill, a historical character, which made it add another layer of research, another layer of effort and work, which I love doing. A lot more pressure, but truly a wonderful experience. Purely in Hindi, which was also a challenge, but also awesome. That one was about 65 episodes on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's long, so
Yeah.
totally different from the dynamic of Inside Edge and Aarya. But what sets Aarya apart is, I think, the care with which it was crafted to give each one of the characters true development. You know, whether it's Bob or Aru or Veer or any of the other actors, even though they're not Sushmita Sen, she's at the core of
Hmm.
the universe here. Everyone's given their time. You go into their individual homes. You see their lives separate from Aarya, which I think only this episodic but closed-ended season format really gives. And beyond that, I'm a musician in my soul, and to have the opportunity to portray a musician for the first time, and people have asked me what kind of films do I want to keep doing. I would love to do another music film or another music project, because that really kind of makes me feel so involved in the project on multiple levels, because music really requires that you dive in with your heart and soul. And even just, I mean, playing the 80s songs at Bob's wedding, which was super cool to learn those and play those. In fact, I was just playing one a few minutes ago for a friend of mine, to the music that he creates, the Bhagavad Gita inspired
Right.
kind of trance-ish music that you hear at the end. So that was super cool. So it's set apart from the other series in that it's music based. But yeah, I'm in love with web series. I think it gives the opportunity to really develop characters more robustly, to have a larger fabric of a story than films give. Obviously, I still love films as well, but I'm hoping to do a lot more series in the future.
There's a big fan of yours called Sagar, and he has mentioned that you've been part of Nach Bale. Can we see you in Big Boss with Salman Khan?
Oh no. No. Yeah, I did Naspalie a long time ago. Thank you for reminding me. It was a truly spectacular experience. I did, I think, 8 weeks of performances, so 8 totally different styles of dance, from Bhangra to Rajasthani to new wave to Indian Bollywood pop to interpretive. It was a truly eye-opening experience, and what I learned from that was that I can dance if you give me a lot of time and a whole lot of choreography. But I've not gone back to do any reality type shows again. I feel as if I'm not built for them. I can't be as patient as the people that do well on them. And I'm more than happy to stick to the films and series that I'm being offered. I won't be doing Big Boss. I'm sorry, guys. You don't want to see me when I'm frustrated. My manager sees enough of that, and I don't think the world needs to see that. I'll continue to keep doing the wonderful projects that I'm offered instead of those types of things.
But did you catch any of those seasons, recent ones of Big Boss,
I did not.
where people were fighting?
Viren,
Okay.
Viren is so. This is a new friend of mine, Viren. Do you mind if I play something for Viren quickly?
Sure, definitely.
All right, here you go, Viren, because I promised. Alexx जनाब का क्या ख्याल है आपका तुम चले गए ओ ओ you hear me चले गए ha ha ha. That's
Wow,
it. That's Ring of
that's
Rang.
great.
So I
Wow,
had to
Viren,
learn
you're
all
lucky.
these 80s songs for Bob's wedding, and now I got nothing to do with them except play them for myself and for my friends from time to time who ask for them.
That's great. Yeah,
So,
that's great.
it
That's
was
great.
fun because whether it's Gore Gore or Halakese Janabaka, it's like there's such cool songs that I never knew because once again I didn't grow up in this industry. So
Right.
it was nice to get that foundation from playing Bob. And Del Raj is
Okay.
there. Del Raj is part of my band. An amazing
Okay,
singer.
we
You
got
can hear her
Dipti out
voice
here.
on the OST that was released recently.
Okay. We have a question from Dipti. It's a quite interesting question. She wants to ask that you being from, not from this Hindi film background or industry, and as you mentioned, you were never starstruck. So what are your opinion? You are the right person to give a balanced opinion what's happening in Bollywood today with that nepotism versus the outsider entire thing, which is it's been blown, very high. Everyone is talking about it. So as a neutral person, we would love to have your opinion on that.
Yeah. Okay. There's so many things that have run through my head when I obviously when I heard of the Sushant Singh Rajput tragedy. I didn't know him, but I knew of him, and I always looked up to him, respected him as a fellow outsider who did so much, achieved so much in such a short time. Um, Now, the discussion about nepotism, I think an equally important discussion about mental health has kind of come to the forefront. Um, my former girlfriend, Shama Sikandar, who features in these two music
Right.
videos, the Still on My Mind, which released 20 Days, which is releasing, she came out quite openly about her struggles with mental health, and I think that was inspirational. I think that we need to talk more about how important mental health is, especially in an industry where so much of your success is dependent on others' interpretation of you, how other people see you. And I think that oftentimes people give all of their self-worth to that outside impression of themselves, and that's devastating. Um, but yeah, so to go to nepotism, I think it exists. It'll always exist. The factory owner's son doesn't have to apply for a job in the factory, right?
True.
Because it's just the way that industries work. I think that there's a valuable outcome to this, and that is that audiences now are demanding more fresh talent and interesting talent to be presented to them. I saw an interesting interview a couple of days ago where, her name escapes me, but a fellow actress in the Indian industry said, I just come off stage for winning Best Actress Award. I was in the middle of an interview, and a star kid walked by. The interview ended, and all the press ran to go take pictures of them. So, it's fine. You can blame the star kids, but I think we also need to look at what the audience is demanding. If an interview with an excellent actor maybe is seen 100 times, but an interview with a star kid that's never done a film is watched 10,000 times, obviously the press is going to go where their audience wants them to go. So I like that it's a broader conversation about the audience wanting to see more Sushant Singh Rajputs, more than, the industry should take them more. I mean, now the audience is saying there is an audience for new talent, and obviously the industry will follow. If we as an audience vote with our comments, if we vote with our money, if we vote with our movie tickets, and we support smaller films, if we support upcoming actors, then the media will follow, then the industry will follow, So that's my impression. But frankly, from my personal perspective, there's a quote that Shah Rukh Khan once said, I run my own race, and you're welcome to run alongside me. You're welcome to run behind me or in front of me. I'm not really concerned about the other people that are running with me. Welcome to the race, welcome. But I'm really running against my own goals. There's certain things that I want to achieve. I'm super busy. You know, as I mentioned a moment ago, 6 films are done pretty much and ready to release. Aarya is out. People are loving it. My second music video is about to release in a matter of weeks. Frankly, I don't have the mind space to focus on the things that I don't have.
Correct.
But with that said, yes, nepotism exists. I'm glad that audiences are changing the industry because it's never going to happen the other way around.
But again, as you mentioned about you, fantastic answer. Firstly, let me tell you, it was superb opinion which you have shared, and what you mentioned about the quote about Shah Rukh Khan also. But when you look at Twitter, people are targeting, Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Karan Johar also, and somewhere do you feel that's wrong? Because at end of the day, these are the people who create job opportunities because by doing maximum films,
Hmm.
the
I
money
have
revenue
long,
comes through these movies.
and this may be controversial, and I may get beaten up by my manager for saying this, but I have long felt that those that have a large platform have a responsibility to improve society. I honestly believe that Salman Khan should be doing more films that have greater positive messages than just the same stereotypical formulaic, we know it's going to do well and get seen, by a lot of people and reach 100 crores. I think that when you reach that level where money is not really as important anymore, that maybe it's time to start looking at how you can improve your society. I love his initiatives with being human. I love, for example, there's so many wonderful films by Amir Khan, that highlight changes that we can make in society and changes we can make in our own mindset. One of my favorite films is Three Idiots. And I think that's a beautiful film, not just about society and education, but also our internal mindset about how we view our success and the important things in our lives. So, I would like to see more of these bigger artists that already know, no matter what they do, you're going to get 100 crores, right? So now do something that helps improve society. Because frankly, in India, just like in lots of parts of the world, entertainment is education. We learn from watching movies how we should interact in society. We learn from watching movies how to expect our public servants to act. For example, if you watch a movie and you see the cop, and this happens in the US all the time, and this is, I think, one of the problems with our society in the US. If you watch a movie and you see a cop beating a confession out of somebody, then you expect, oh, well, maybe that's what they can do. But that's not what they can do. That's completely not what they should be doing. And unfortunately, the people and the cops take their cues from entertainment because that is their education, And I think that we need more films that show properly how things should be running, rather than giving a skewed education, so to speak. And I don't think it's just India. I think it's all over the world.
Yeah, it's all over the world. It happens in the US also with all those Avenger series and the Marvel movies, and that's what they say. These are not movies. Okay, that's a different debate.
No,
We have
but
one.
look at Aarya and look at ACP Khan in Aarya.
Yeah.
You've got a man who represents the religious minority as well as the social minority. He's Muslim. He's homosexual. And yet, look at the diligence with which he works, and look at the proper following. Even when his superior comes and says, "You know why you've not succeeded? Because you go by the book."
Yeah.
And you're like, so you don't want him to win, but at the same time you want him to win. That's kind of how you can, if you write a story the way that Ram and Sandeep and Vinod created this story, you can give a positive impression, even when the audience is rooting against your character. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes. We have one more question. That is, which was the best experience you had in the film? All these movies which you did, from the movies, which was the best one?
From the movies or from the series or from everything?
From the movies. From this, so you told us Aarya is there. From the movies, would like to know.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you why Aarya is so special for me really quickly, and then I'll tell you about film. Because this 360-degree shooting strategy, basically, I'll let the cat out of the bag about what that is. essentially there's steady cams, which means no tripod, no track and trolley, no jimmy jib. It's almost like a handheld cam that's following the action around. So as an actor, you never really know if the camera's going to be here or here or here or here or behind you. So you're forced to forget about the camera entirely and live in that moment. Oftentimes we as actors try to help frame the scene. You know, we say, okay, I'll be here so that you get the depth of the field behind me. I'll make sure that I'm not blocking her light and that he's, you know, you do all this because you want to help, because you learn over time how to help compose a good shot. Well, you have to forget all about that when you're working with Ram Madhvani, because you never know where the camera's going to be, and it's never going to be in the same place twice. So
got it. Yeah.
That experience was very similar to when I worked in theater 10 years ago. I'm sorry. Oh my God, it was 10 years ago. I did theater for 10 years, and I did it 10 years ago. And in that sense, you never really know, because the audience is everywhere, where they're going to be watching you from. So you need to be performing from every angle, which basically means you have to be in the moment. And that's very, very important. And I think that's why the acting has been so lauded in this series, because every actor is immersed in their character without any regard for what the camera is. Because the camera doesn't matter. Because if you spend your mental energy on trying to frame up for the camera, you'll be totally lost. So you have no choice but to forget about it. So that's why Aarya is special for me from a technical perspective. That, and when you watch it, the frames are always moving. It's never static. It's always going in or going out, or it's always, which gives it a vitality. It feels alive, which is beautiful.
Sleekness also.
Yeah. I think one of my best film experiences, I don't really want to talk about the ones that haven't released yet, because you always want to start talking about them just before they release to get the momentum going. So I'll think back a little bit to some of my best experiences on film. I think Chittagong was amazing because the cast was spectacular. Before anyone had heard of Rajkumar Rao, Nawazuddin Siddiqui, obviously Manoj Bajpayee was already a big star, Vijay Varma. So that cast was so phenomenal to work with, because it was true, raw, amazing talent before it had been seen. So they were all still hungry, as many of them still are, but they were all truly in their beginning stages of becoming the actors that they are now. And so those are super honest performances. I think Mayor Charles with Randeep Hooda, Richard Chadha, Adil Hussain, another incredible actor. We spent so much time in Goa that I felt like I was the character. I was in character day in and day out, because we were living in that space and existing in that space for so long. It felt like it was the 80s and we were just hanging out on the beach, hiding from the cops. It was when you shoot in a location with your fellow actors for extended periods of time, you sink into the character and the situation, I think, more than if you fly in, shoot, and fly out, which I hate doing. And then with Aarya, once again, living in Rajasthan, living in Jaipur with the entire team, getting married there for the second time, but wasn't a real marriage, by the way. These things, the camaraderie of the team. So yeah, I would say that these three, and then obviously Madrasa Patnam and Urmi, and there's so many amazing experiences that I could take up an entire interview just talking about each film on its own.
Of course, we will talk about it when you will be back to India, and we wish you all the best for Ruhi Afza and your other projects and your song, and lots of love from your fans.
Still on My Mind. If you haven't seen Still on My Mind, check it out. It's on YouTube.
Sure.
Alexx Music. I reply to every single comment that people put up there, because music, acting is there, but music is truly my soul, which is why Aarya combining the two has been, a dream come true. But check out Still on My Mind. And
Definitely. And stay safe, and waiting for you to be back. All the best.
Yes, I'll be back soon. Very, very, very soon.
Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Same to you. Take care. Thank you.